Alyssa Bouchard.
Here.
Chuck Melkey. And Alyssa Parks is absent also. Carrie Germain.
Present.
Jessica Lenave.
Present.
Brian Sapanik.
Present.
And Jack Sayer. I believe he's on his way.
He's on his way. Thank you, Sue. All right, Mr. Melkey won't be able to join us tonight, and Mr. Sayer is on his way here, and Mrs. Parks is a previous commitment. So with that, I would I'll invite all of you to join us in the pledge, with the exception of Mr. Heatherton, who needs to remain seated. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. And for those of you who might be wondering, and Mr. Heatherton may share more, but I'm just going to tell you that he's suffered an injury that requires him to remain seated for this meeting. And so we're going to accommodate that. And we will welcome Mr. Sayer when he arrives. We do have a busy agenda, yes?
Just a quick question.
Sure.
If you don't mind me asking. Mr. Heatherton, how did you suffer that injury?
So, Mr. Sapanik, at
Yes.
the last board meeting, we had a group of scholar athletes in the front row who coerced me into playing in the staff versus student volleyball game. And I decided to be a good sport and come in all fired up. And my left leg stuck on the court, and I completely tore my patellar tendon. So I blew my knee out.
It was the
I
game.
just want it to be official on record that the staff did go on and beat the students in the game.
It was the game-winning spike, Mr. Heatherton.
With you cheering from the sideline with an ice bag on your leg for a moment.
I'm very sorry for your injury, but that was the girls' varsity volleyball team.
It's okay, Rod. He'll be here for another month. You can get him then. All right, next on our agenda, and welcome everybody again, I know I already said that, but next on our agenda is a public comment opportunity. If you'd like to address the board, please come forward to the podium, state your name, and keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. These need to be comments related initially to the agenda before us this evening, and there should be copies over there if you're questioning what's on the agenda. And you will have a second opportunity later in the meeting to comment. Anyone? All right. Moving on, we do have a special presentation this evening. Mr. Sayer will let you get situated. Thanks for joining us. We do have a special presentation. I'm going to start with Mr. Heatherton, and then we'll proceed.
Yes, thank you. It is my honor and my privilege to pay some respects to our board members who this is their last official regular meeting. We do have one more meeting in December for the superintendent evaluation, but that is 90% in closed session. So this is our last regular board meeting of the 22 school year, and we have 3 board members who are finishing out, completing terms, and those board members have given a variety of time and service. I think Ms. Alyssa Bouchard here has completed all of 4 months. Mrs. Alyssa Parks has also wrapped up a 2-year term. And Mr. Brian Sapanik, let me see if I get this right. 70 years on the board? Just kidding, 20 years.
70.
20 years?
Yeah.
20 years on the board. And so I know that Madam President has some words, and we do have some certificates and a nice little gesture, and then we're going to have some holiday music as well, because I know how much Mr. Sapanik has just loved the arts, the PAC, kids, and music. So we're gonna sing some songs, Mr. Sapanik, after this.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Heatherton, and I'll let the other board members weigh in, but starting with Alyssa Bouchard, I know it's been a short period of time. It's been a pleasure to have you on this board. You have jumped right in and learned as much as you could possibly learn, but more importantly, I think you've contributed so much, and you're continuing to offer to contribute after you're done with this service. And I would only hope that you would continue to serve our district and community and students in some capacity, maybe even coming back to this board someday, because it's been a real pleasure. For Alyssa Parks, who's been here for about a year and a half, she was appointed about a year and a half ago. She has just been a real asset to the school board, and she has contributed a great deal. And she has a background in human resources and leadership development, and that's really been helpful, I think, to our board and bringing us together in her service on many of the committees that we have behind the scenes. So I also want to thank her, and we'll be able to more completely thank her when she's with us in December. And finally, Mr. Sapanek, what can I say? We can blame you for being on the board when I was appointed all those years ago. So, and it's, and all kidding aside, it's just been a real pleasure to serve next to you. You've always had amazing insights, and you're thoughtful in your deliberations, and I really value your leadership. Most of all, your commitment to our students, the staff, the community, and to the school district. And so I just want to say there's some notable things that during Brian's tenure have happened here, and some of them are challenging. We've had some challenging budget years and funding from the state and federal sources. But in spite of that, we've moved forward and helped our students grow and achieve. And some of those notable accomplishments are the Performing Arts Center that was built, which has made it a state-of-the-art facility and is the jewel of Swartz Creek. And the fine students that are going to perform from us have benefited a great deal. Also the cage, which a little bit controversial at first, but I think people recognize and value the expansion of the practice facilities and the opportunities that it's given to the community at large. Also, the STEM program that started at Deke, that little baby STEM program that has grown into the STEAM program that's now in expanded facilities and amazing opportunities for our students. They don't even know yet what's going to happen as a result of having the exposure to those facilities and the programs and the information that they'll have access to, as well as the bond that was passed. And all of the updates and upgrades and technology and the athletic complex that I know you're very proud of, because you were a student here and you played football. And so to see that and appreciate that and the impact it will have on generations to come. So Brian, from my heart, I want to thank you.
It's been a pleasure and honor serving here. And all of these things that you said, it's been absolutely amazing. 20 years ago, I mean, there was no thought about PAC, though I wanted one, though I thought the board, the school, the administration wanted a PAC. STEAM, how beautiful is that? The education we're giving to our young people now is just unbelievable. The bond, from what I know, it's the first significant bond that we passed here in Swartz Creek since the late 60s. The high school, all the facilities, all the upgrades, the security things, all the beautiful, the gym, everything, how it's just turning, there's so much beauty that has been brought out with the money from the bond. And I am proud, when I say I'm from Swartz Creek, I'm extremely proud to say that. It's just been it's been an honor and a privilege to work here, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Anybody else want to make some comments?
I guess I can go.
Keep it short.
I'll keep it short. First, I'd like to apologize for my tardiness. But 3 years ago, I came to a board meeting in the old boardroom, back when it was a desk out there with chairs surrounding it. And after the meeting, I had talked to one Mr. Brian Sapanek, and I was talking to him, and I had floated the idea that I, at the time, as a senior in high school, but then graduating that year, might run for school board. 3 years ago, one Brian Sapanek told me, oh, that'd be a great idea. Invited me to a committee meeting. And then later, as I ran, he was a big support to me. Now on the board, Brian has shaped me. He has given me opportunities. He has guided me and given me insight to things that has given me different perspective on certain issues and ways of doing things that I otherwise wouldn't have thought of. From me to you, Brian, I appreciate, your support to me, but not just that, your support to Swartz Creek. And I've never heard someone say such great things as Carrie said about someone to someone else, and you've been on this board basically since I've been alive,
Yeah.
so it seems, or even, so,
70 years, is that right, Rod?
I guess you've probably helped Swartz Creek a little bit in that amount of time, and from me to you, Brian, thank you, and I hope that I speak for Swartz Creek when I say thank you.
Appreciate it.
Well, as well, I'll start with Alyssa, and Carrie's right. You've been a delightful addition to the board. I appreciate you attending the committee meetings and offering to be involved even after your term here. And it's just been really nice, so thank you so much for stepping up, because somebody could have said, it's just a few months, why bother? And you didn't say that. You stepped up, and it's very much appreciated. You're welcome. And Brian, 70 years must have been 2 bonds, not just one. Just kidding. No, you have been delightful, and I really appreciate your service and the example. And as Jack said, I don't know, I don't think Carrie left anything out. You are an incredible blessing to this community and to this district, and I appreciate personally how very welcoming and helpful that you've been. And it made coming here and coming onto the board much easier and much better. And, I just want to give you a great big hug afterwards, because you're awesome.
Oh,
Thanks so much for everything that you've done,
well,
really.
I appreciate that, and thank you for the beautiful, kind words.
You're very welcome.
Besides words, we have some other things. Carrie's again.
I can't accept any money.
That's true. I can't. But you can get mine.
Okay. We'll start with Alyssa. You'd like to stand? You can be great. This is from the Swartz Creek Community Schools Certificate of Appreciation for Alyssa Bouchard for your service and dedication along the Swartz Creek Board of Education. And just thanks again. Thanks again. I wish it could be longer. And we are really grateful to you. So there you go.
Oh, love it, thank you.
Mr. Sapanek, additionally, the Swartz Creek Community Schools appreciates your service and your dedication while you've been on the Swartz Creek Board of Education. I personally do as well. I wouldn't be here without you.
Oh, that's,
Beautiful. I'm going to read it if you don't
yeah,
mind.
no, that's fine.
We thought that you were worthy of this. You could put it someplace in your beautiful home. This is presented to Brian Sapanek. Thank you for your dedication and service to our community and the students of Swartz Creek Schools for 20 years of service. I want to
Thank
thank
you.
Sue Gould for making the beautiful arrangements for that.
Thank you, it's very, very nice.
All right. Yes, there will be hugs later.
Next.
All right.
Next up, we have some music to go along with this. Are you ready, Mr. Luke and students?
Thank you, Sue.
going to give you a preview of our Christmas concert, which is coming up. Here's our plug. December 15th at 7 o'clock in the PAC. Lots of Christmas music, of course. We're going to start with something that Mandeville's do every year, which is the Carol of Bells. So our next piece is called O Harken Ye. It's a very, very old carol arranged by Alfred Burt.
Tidings I see,
And so we're just going to sing it for him tonight. And you're welcome to join us. This is anticipation of what we do 2 weeks from last Monday, caroling through the village. And his favorite carol was Away in the Manger, so we're going to sing that for him. You're welcome to join us, if you know it.
Thank you, Mr. Luke, and thank you, students. That was beautiful. Thank you. And what a great way to give tribute to Mr. Sapanic. So thank you for giving him his wish, and he could hear his favorite song. So we'd like to take a very short, couple-minute break, and so if the students would like to depart, I'm sure you have homework to do. Or you can stay. But we do appreciate you being here and all that you do and the pride that you bring to Swartz Creek. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are now back in session. Next on our agenda, we have a consent agenda. I would entertain a motion for approval. Brian,
Support.
Jack, any comments or questions? Hearing none, Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Carrie Germain,
Yes.
Brian Sapanic,
Yes.
Jessica Lenave,
Yes.
Alyssa Bouchard,
Yes.
Jack Sayer.
Yes.
Okay. My count, that's 5.
Yes.
Motion passes. And then, Jessica, you will follow up with the proposal to accept the bills later? Yes. All right, thank you. Now moving on to Mr. Heatherton's superintendent report. Rod?
Thank you very much. So as you can see, we have a lot going on in the holiday season. If you get a chance, go out and check out the high school concert. They sounded lovely. Our first piece of business for the board here is I just want to pass out the superintendent evaluation tool so that you have a chance to take a look at it. We will be going through the tool on our December board meeting. I will be filling out my components of that, and we will have that discussion there. So if you have any questions in the meantime, you can get a hold of me or Carrie to talk about how that process works. Got a couple more handouts here. We have the do we? There's the MASB that didn't have a handout. That was just an announcement. The
The
94.
Fenton one is just an announcement.
Okay, so Fenton is hosting MASB and their CBA 101 on January 20th. So I know that Sue and we have put out some dates in December. The MASB was hosting that first class, but Fenton is also going to host the class in January. So get with Sue if you are still interested. If you have not taken MASB's CBA 101, you can do it here locally in January. Lots of board training going on as we've had our election. This next one is Traits of Effective School Boards, and the ISD is hosting this one. This is Thursday, February 2nd. This one does have a handout. If you're interested in going to the GISD, how do effective boards operate? There is that. Lots of opportunities to look at school board best practices. Another announcement is Central Office held our first ever food drive, and we split up into the butterballs and the sweet potatoes. I will say that Mr. Kitchen's team, the butterballs, did win, and they collected the most food, and then we took all of that food and donated it to the Swartz Creek United Methodist Church for the holidays for those in need. And finally, we had an opportunity as part of K-12 Alliance to send some folks to Live Well, Lead Well, which was a mental health symposium held in Oakland County. And Mr. Kitchen did happen to attend that with 3 others. If you'd like to give us a little short synopsis of some of the things that are currently being discussed around mental health.
I would love to. This was a great experience. We were gone for the day down in Oakland ISD. We had a chance to take Dave Simonson, Sean Kovach, Ryan Smith, myself. This whole conference, this whole symposium is a day-long resource data on the idea of mental health support. And they always do a great job with this. They did rush this year to make sure they wanted this symposium to take place before the holidays, as that's when a lot of our students and staff deal with a lot of mental health issues with the joy and the lows that come with even the holidays. Interesting facts that really pulled me in early in the morning was that 80% of the time a parent's first contact for help with mental illness is the school. 80% of the time. And so we have pledged from this, our group, to be a support, to help support our teachers and our administrators. But they're the front line with mental health, and some great resources that were presented there were parentguidance.org. And any parents that are watching tonight, this is a powerful resource if you're dealing with mental health issues within your family. It's totally free. They're committing to keep it free, and there it is, just packed with ideas. It's packed with connections to therapists if that's needed. It has courses, parenting courses in there. A wonderful resource, and you can find it on our webpage under the parent link. Again, parentguidance.org. Some other ones to support students, an organization called mylifeisworthliving.org. And the gentleman who was the director of the Thornberries created this, and he uses animation to support mental health, a wonderful resource. Another one that we had a chance to see was like Hope Squad, and it's training peers to be interventionists and to work with other peers. And so with our emphasis on trauma-informed care, this really fit our needs, and we're looking forward to the opportunity we're sharing this Friday with our administrative meeting. And if we can get these resources into hands of our teachers when they're confronted by parents who are asking for help, they're reaching out for help and don't know where to go, we want to be that support for them. And so it was a great day of learning, and we look forward to the opportunity of implementing these practices within our program to support our families, our staff, and students.
Thank you, Mr. Kitchen. And just to follow up on that, we had our idea back in 2020 to hold a Swartz Creek resource night for parents, and that is finally going to come alive again. So the MTSS team with Mr. Kitchen, Mrs. Germain, our new school nurse, and a couple of other folks are getting ready to kick that off in the spring. So we're looking forward to continuing having resources for families around mental health. And that is all I have.
Thank you, Rod. Any questions for Rod? All right. Let's move on to our student board representative report. Tanner, thank you so much for being part of the Madrigals and just for being you. And I know you're going to have a great report, but thank you so much for entertaining us this evening.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's always an honor. I always just have a blast doing it. All right, and to start off tonight's report, at the high school level, the Swartz Creek Drama Club recently put on their production of Clue live on stage, November 18th, 19th, and 20th. The show was a major success, was a huge hit. We received a ton of praise with people within the Swartz Creek community. A couple people even came to see it twice. All in all, it was just a great time, great fun had by all with raving reviews. Other than that, the high school marching band is gearing up for this year's annual Community Christmas Parade. This is going to be happening on this Saturday night at 6 p.m. The band is going to be featured playing a number of Christmas classics as they march through the streets of downtown. After that, that's followed by the tree lighting and such, which is always a great community event. We always like to see students getting involved with that. Along with the Christmas parade, the high school band is also preparing for their annual winter concert, which is going to take place on December 13th this year, and the annual choir winter concert will be following it up on the 15th. Down at the middle school level, we got a lot this time. All right. Middle school students have recently completed a social emotional learning unit. All students were able to complete a 5-point scale on mental health, which they were able to share with their parents. And on top of that, the middle school Spark leaders have been working with their mentees on mental health and attitude is gratitude activities. Middle school has also recently partnered with Consumers Energy to bring in a energy saving presentation to teach students about the benefits of converting to LED light bulbs and saving water and stuff, and how all this is going to be beneficial to our environment. And each student, after the presentation, got to take home a bag of goodies, which included stuff like a free light bulb, a free shower head, a shower timer to help encourage shorter shower times, and just a whole bag of Consumers Energy goodies that they can place around their house to help with that conserving energy. And finally, Ms. Brownfield's ELA classes had a Zoom lesson with the author of a book that they just read called Ugly Me. The author, who's J.E. Stamper, is going to meet with them again after they read his next book. So it's really nice to see that we're having an outside source coming in and interacting with our middle school students. That's something I feel they would be able to thoroughly enjoy. And I'd like to thank the author personally for giving that opportunity to our students. Down at the elementary level at Gaines Elementary, starting December 1st, the school will be holding an extra long Spirit Week called the 12 Days Before Holiday Break. Each day will bring up a fun theme for staff and students to participate in and dress up, adding just a little bit of extra fun for the days before break begins. The Gaines PTO has also organized a fun lock-in event for students on December 2nd. It's 3 hours from 5 to 8. There's going to be fun activities for the students to come to school late, have that real lock-in experience while they just play games, dance. I believe there's going to be a DJ, and just all in all, a great time for some of the little ones in the district to just connect with each other and have a great night. Cyrene Elementary, families participated last night in a family wellness night. This is where staff and volunteers got together to give a number of lessons around physical and emotional health that would benefit students and families. As tradition, elementary schools will be holding the annual Secret Santa workshop event. Throughout the day, students will have the chance to go down by class to the quote-unquote workshop and shop for gifts that they're able to give to people this holiday season. All items available are priced at $5 or less to ensure as many students as possible can enjoy the event. A lot of these are handmade by vendors who donate their own time and resources to this event. I've seen people come in year after year. They absolutely love doing this, watching the kids pick out items for their loved ones, and they always just make great gifts because the students, it's a little different because the students are able to shop for themselves and say, I went out of my way to get this for you on my own time with my own money. And that's always a really, really cool experience to teach kids at such a young age to have that experience to go Christmas shopping for someone that they love in their family. And to finish up at the elementaries, all schools will be holding their annual holiday parties on December 16th as a fun send-off to the winter break. Over at the Virtual Learning Center, so far this year, the Virtual Learning Center has acquired over 40 new students, either transfer from other buildings in the district or brand new. Some new policies have also been implemented over this year, which are allowing students to be a lot more successful. Students are engaging more, and staff are able to provide additional support with them throughout the day, but that doesn't just stop at school. That is also virtually via Google Meet or Zoom. And as students make plans for their future, staff is continuing to work with them to identify steps that they would like to take to make those plans come to fruition, as well as looking for ways to prepare students so that they are ready to take those steps once they get to the real world, take those steps with confidence. Very, very full report, and that's all I've got for tonight.
Also, as always, Tanner, thank you so much. Any questions for Tanner? I have one that I haven't asked you, but I've asked your predecessors, is what are your plans in the future?
So my plans in the future are to attend college. I've got it narrowed down to 2 right now. It's Saginaw Valley and Eastern Michigan University. I'm undecided on what major I'd like to go into, but those 2 colleges in particular stuck out to me because they have an extremely exploratory approach. I can go get all of my general education out of the way in my first 2 years, while the college can also help me practically hand in hand with exploring career paths, opportunities, and getting me to much exposure as the, real world as you can, while getting all of those gen ed credits out of the way. Right now, it's basically just going to come down to how much scholarships I can get for each school, see which school is going to ring out on top there, and pick and choose from that, and see which school I'd like to go to pursue.
Great answer. You should be in an interview soon. Those were great answers.
Thank you.
And thank you. And I'm not trying to move you out of here anytime soon, because you do an amazing job. And thanks to Mr. Kitchen, because I think you were responsible for bringing Tanner to us.
Yeah, I'll give him full credit.
Thank you so much. All right, go ahead, Brian.
I think communication would be great for you because you're always uplifting and upbeat, and you're well-spoken. I think that would be perfect for you.
I'll definitely keep that in
Something to
mind.
think about.
Yeah, I've always thought about doing something like that. That would be a fun job.
And not that I know firsthand, but Saginaw Valley has a great communication program.
Good to know.
You'll do well wherever you go and whatever you do.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
All right, moving on, you do have in your packet employment of non-certified staff. I do believe that we had an addition of a lead LDLC secretary, just for your information. And then going to our board subcommittee reports, before we have our discussion items, I'm going to start with the academic achievement meeting, which was held last Tuesday morning. Alyssa, Jessica, and I were able to make that meeting along with Mr. Kitchen and Mr. Claren. We got a really interesting overview of the new Dragon's Backbone of the Dragon meeting, which was held recently, that included a full day of training for the 10 new district teachers, about 10 new district teachers. They're consistent with the district's strategic goals to recruit and retain talent that we've laid out. The training was focused on district philosophy and practices. They talked about assessment goals, trauma-informed care, and the progress that the staff is making with building the relationships with students that we know are so important. And that group is scheduled to meet, I believe, again in February of 2023. Second on our agenda was the trauma-informed care school improvement goal update. And we got some information, some examples of what they're working on, what they're looking at, including a companion document that was very detailed and a focus on classroom structures. And Kevin and Jim explained how self-regulation strategies, the example they used was that at the high school level, were so important, and the strategies that will be available for all educational levels include distraction when a student needs some assistance, walking around, removing them from the environment to a safe place, practicing some breathing, wellness room visit. The student may just need to get some of their frustrations out, and then to identify a safe person that might be able to help the student. Jim did share the room scan form, which is really interesting. It's intended to provide some consistency with some non-negotiable items that are to be displayed within the classrooms at all levels, at the high school, the middle school, and the elementary level, including our CREEK values, which we know so well, the 5-point scale. For those of you who may or may not know it, it's the 1 to Hulk, 1 to 5, and then you're in a Hulk situation where you may be very angry. Class, I don't know that they used the Hulk in the high school. We didn't really talk about that, but if that's the example. Classroom personalization, really kind of welcoming the students in. Also talked about lighting and messaging, some of the things that the teachers can use. And then also Kevin shared that some of the teachers are using Tibetan singing bowls. Where's Kevin? There he is. Tibetan singing bowls and chimes. I think that was the example you gave. I thought that was pretty cool. And then as Mr. Kitchen mentioned, the district is going to partner with parentguidance.org for those free services. And I think you mentioned, Jim, that we would get some kind of a designation on our website.
Yes, we applied to receive a medallion that schools can receive if they're parentguidance.org participants.
Yeah, I did go out and look at that website. It's remarkable.
Yes, agreed.
So any students or families that are interested, go out and look at it. It's a lot of resources, and they can talk to a therapist. I mean, it's really pretty amazing stuff. So finally, we looked at the We Dragons social media blitz, which is actually out there right now. Michelle Corbett's doing a very nice job getting that out there. There's a bingo card for children, focused on children ages 2 to 4, getting them ready for kindergarten. The bingo card has 25 educational activities, and once they've completed those activities, they can go to, I think, the central office, and they would be eligible for a We Dragon t-shirt. So for anybody who's on social media, look out there. It's a really cute t-shirt and a great set of activities to do with the children. Some numbers, knowing your numbers, what they mean, sorting, those types of things. It's really kind of cool. There was no public comment, and as always, we thank Kevin and Jim for their leadership, and especially for taking the helm in Rod's absence at the time. And that was it. I think our next meetings are in January, once we've had our organizational meeting. So next I'm going to ask, seeing that Chuck's not here, Jessica, I guess I'm going to go to policy next. And Jessica can be in the wings. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Jack.
So, policy committee was Tuesday, November 22nd. Present was myself, Chuck Melke, Mr. Kitchen, and Kevin Claren. First order of business on the agenda was we were going to finish the review of the July 2022 packet, which we did end up doing. Got through it all, had to stay a little late as I actually was a little late to that meeting as well. However, we did end up getting through it all, and then we found as we went through it some controversies that we kind of wanted to bring to the rest of the board, though I think we can get more into those probably during the second read, so we don't have to waste too much time with them here, but just to go over them quickly, 4202, 4301, 4710, option 2. During these, we had some basic questions. The committee was leaning towards yes on 4202. However, the age-appropriate phrasing was in question, and we wouldn't really have any issue with this policy if that was removed from the first option. 4301, we were okay with adopting this option, but wanted more board insight as to how long they believed the prohibitionary period should be. And then 5710, again, the age-appropriate part was throwing us off. We said that this would be a probably yes in terms of adopting it, though we wanted more insight from the rest of the board. We had no public comment, and there was no more board comments, though now I would like to make the board comment that we are officially caught up in policy, which is nice, and policy committee officially adjourned at 7:31 p.m., and this was our final policy committee for this year.
Any questions for Jack? Thanks, Jack, as always, appreciate it. All right, Jessica, you're going to do both
First,
finance?
yeah, a finance committee meeting and building and site met on November 22nd with finance starting at 3:10. cash and investment summary as of October 31st. Our general fund is $5,707,692.24. Our sinking fund is $1,718,588.94. Food service is $530,653.79. Student activity fund is $282,797.83. Our debt service is $1,450,406.03. Our bond capital project fund is $5,839,409.96, leaving our total cash and investments at $15,529,548.79. Our next agenda item was the check register review, which we did review with no issues from previous months. Additionally, we had bids and quotes. We had we had the quote. I've got the POs. Here are the POs. TR 2031 for $254,780 for 2 passenger buses. In our discussion, a third bus can be added by February. There's a change order in for that, as we were determining previously, you might remember, whether or not budgetarily we can afford the third bus right now. PO AD 2055 for $8,555 for 5D evaluation software renewal. PO AD 2053 for $23,640 for 12 touchscreen time clocks that will be placed in various locations in the district. PO MO 2031 for $10,000, that was playground equipment at Morrish, including a merry-go-round and slide. PO MN 2164 for $11,821.25. Those are the screen coat for the gymnasiums at the high school, middle school, Gaines, and Cage. PO MN 2169 for $9,913 is for a catch basin at Morrish in the parking lot. The dry cooler bid opening happened on the November 22nd with 3 bidders, and they were still in the process of going through the bids at that point. Our next item was the board stipend payments. The information as to what information will be needed to do direct deposit was provided. And the committee comment is the board revision, I put board, I'm sorry, that should be budget revision. The budget revision considerations that we'll keep in mind are property taxes, state revenue updates, and our student count. Our meeting then transitioned, with no public comments, transitioned to the Operations Committee at 4:09. I would like to make a motion that you accept my report as submitted.
Support.
Any comments or questions? Hearing none, Sue, could you do roll call, please?
Alyssa Bouchard,
Support.
Carrie Germain,
Yes.
Brian Sapanic,
Yes.
Jessica Lenave,
Yes.
Jack Sayer.
Yes.
All
5
right.
yes.
5, motion passes. Thanks, Jessica.
You're welcome.
Okay, now to building and site and
Yes, it
operations.
started at 4:09, and it was very quick because we discussed so much of it in the finance part. The first agenda item was Stop Finder Transportation launch update. Stop Finder is in operation currently, and so far it's working well. The staff is happy with the way it's working so far, and no complaints from parents, and we're awaiting more feedback. The committee will report on the next meeting to the board on this progress. The second topic was Mary Crapo. They're ready for demolition, however, we're waiting for Consumers Energy to unhook the gas to the buildings. I believe it happened on that day, or it was coming. And then the third topic was the coating on the gymnasium floors. So all the floors at the high school, middle school, Gaines and Cage gym floors were cleaned and have new wax, and those all happened on the break.
Thank you, Jessica. Any comments or questions for Jessica? All right, thank you, ma'am. Thanks for doing double duty.
Very welcome.
there. All right. Moving on, We do have 2 discussion items, if you would like to introduce Mr. Delgado.
Absolutely. We would like to have Mr. Tony Delgado come up front, and he is going to bless us with a annual food service update and presentation.
All right, we are on.
Welcome, Tony.
Hello, how are you guys doing today?
Fine, thanks.
All right, so food service. So for those of you that don't know or don't remember, I've been here for, well, coming up on about a year and a half now. So there's been a lot of changes over the last year and a half. Go ahead and start. Nah. There we go. This is the team that we have to work with. So I work for Chartwell's, and we have a large group of assistants when it comes down to it. So that's where the benefit comes to the school district, to each and every kid. So we have Justin Hawkins, Amy Larson, Aaron Mason, Callie Gavrick. They all work for the region, the Great Lakes region. They help support me. The 2 on-site that you see are me and Brett Jacobs, our executive chef that we hired last year. We basically are the ones that you deal with every day, but we have a large group of support behind us to help out with all the questions that we have, or any problems that we might come into contact with. But that doesn't mean that I don't have any trouble or like anything, any help within. Since I started, Susie, my secretary, has been instrumental in helping out, not to mention the staff that we do have, 2 of which are here. Deb Kavanaugh, the head cook at Gaines, and then Brian Blackstock, an assistant cook at the middle school. So basically, one of the hardest things is trying to figure out the balance. Because when we talk about the nutritional value of what kids are eating and what is good for them, what they want to eat, there's not a good balance with it. Because we could give them cheeseburgers and chicken nuggets every day and they'd be happy, but that's not necessarily what parents want to see, and that's not necessarily what MDE wants to see either. So we have to try to figure out how to come up with that balance, and that's what I've been working on over the last year, is really trying to figure out what we can do with what we have available to us, how we can still get them what they want while trying to be creative and not just humdrum the same thing every single day. So in the last discussion that we had and the times that I have met with you guys, I've thought about what is going to be the most important things that we have to focus on. And obviously fighting hunger is one of the biggest things. Helping the kids that are in need, paying attention to the individuals that are in the schools, trying to make sure that just plain and simple, kids are getting fed. This year, I figured out that we can help out with the free and reduced application. So if there are children out there whose parents just haven't taken the time, or something's going on where they can't do it, we can choose a few children throughout the district, which we have done this year, to fill out an application to make sure that they do get free and reduced meals throughout the year. So at least within the high school, I know that there's been 2 that we've done that to, just to make sure that they can make it through the day without worrying about when or how they're going to eat. We focused on minimizing waste, trying to work on student voice and making sure that we pay attention to what they want, what they like, what they don't like, and food quality. And not just the quality of the food that we're presenting it, but how we're presenting it to them. Because especially once you get into secondary schools, there are little adults that have preferences that also eat with their eyes. So we, over this last year, especially at the high school, I worked with them hand in hand, just working on just garnishes, trying things out, not giving up on a food item that we tried out because it didn't work good on the first run, saying, okay, the flavor's there. How can we make it appealing? Make it pop out to them. Have a kid try one. Just doing samples. Just things to try to get them to engage with the things that we're putting out there, because they may like it if they can just get past the visual. So if we work on the visual, might be able to hook them into it. So with that in mind, when we're talking about feeding the hungry kids or trying to help out, so over the past summer, we had very minimal time to get together a distribution. So when it comes to summer distributions or giving out mass meals, it has to be authorized by MDE and by the federal government. So they were dead set. The COVID funded had stopped. We couldn't do it. And then right at the last second, they're like, okay, we can do it now. So we pulled everybody together, we got everybody going, started pulling in food from every single school that we could possibly get, because what better way, like, why go out and buy a whole bunch of food when we have schools that are gonna sit there for a little bit with some stuff in their freezers, things like that. So we made sure that we got all that stuff together, and we started just hammering it in. So within that short amount of time, we were able to put out 20,000 meals to the community, with Deb helping, if you can see her. She's in the bottom picture there. It was hot days, and they worked their butt off, but we were able to do it, and we had very little time to put it together. So also, we started CEP this year, Community Eligibility Provision. So with this, the only real comparison that I could do with this is by going with the 1920 school year. 1920 school year was the last school year that we had that didn't have COVID funding, so it was actually paid, freed, and reduced. So when I try to compare things, I have to go with something realistic like that. So if you look at it, the left two bars, the purple, or the blue and the orange, those are going to be your breakfast. That's where you're going to see the biggest impact, and that's the one that we're most proud of, because if you look, the orange one is this year, and in every single school, we have a major increase, especially with Morris and Cyring, which have the highest head counts. Granted, lunch, not as competitive with that, but we had a lot of kids eating lunch beforehand. Breakfast is the one with the biggest opportunity, and I see, like, this just being our average daily count, we've made a huge impact with that. So on a daily basis, we have a lot of children that are eating breakfast that 3 years ago wouldn't have touched it. So we're getting a lot more kids fed. Go ahead. So we increased breakfast by average 130 per day. That's across the district. So that's huge. That helps out getting kids started for the day. So 3 out of 4 kids, teachers say they teach kids who are regularly come to school hungry. American kids struggle with hunger. And then breakfast changes lives. So they get higher scores, they attend class more likely to graduate, and they earn more just based on breakfast. They can focus throughout the day. So I feel like like switching over to CEP, although there was a little bit of hesitation with it, was absolutely the right move, because we have proven that the kids in school do want breakfast, and we're making it as easy as possible for them to get it so they can be fed throughout the day. Yeah.
Mention again what CEP stands for.
It's Community Eligibility Provision. So when we do free and reduced applications, there's a percentage every single year. And if you have a high enough percentage, then you can use the Community Eligibility Provision, which basically says that you can take an entire district, a group of schools, or a individual school, and you can give that entire school free meals, but you can only get a certain percentage reimbursement for it. Now, granted, you get a lower reimbursement than what you get over like COVID, maybe like $1 less per meal. So really the big thing is, can we get them engaged? Can we get them eating the meals? Can we get them coming through the lines, and can we provide something that they would want? So with that in mind, like, we worked hard over the last year to, like, during COVID, to hone in the recipes that we're doing, the way they're presenting things, because the more kids that we get to eat, the better it is, and the more beneficial it is for us to switch over to that program. But ultimately, we can use it to where just using the district as a whole, we can pull it together and provide meals for those kids. Just with the secondary level, it wouldn't work, just because the offerings that we have, the only way that we can make it work with secondary, like high school, middle school, is if we really dumb down the meals and we lessened all their offerings. And it just would not be anything like, then we would really have to go to burgers and nuggets every day to get them back into it. But for the elementary schools, it worked out great, especially for the parents that are going from 2 years of free meals to all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, I gotta get my kid fed. Like, and there was a lot that forgot. So like the first month or so, I was emailing parents, making phone calls, helping out with applications, and then now Susie and I divide and conquer. She deals with all of the applications that come through, and then I contact the parents when they start having troubles with applications. If I notice that there's negative balances, I call them and just give them help with what they need. Give them just kind of get their feedback on stuff too. So we've just been working hand in hand with the parents, trying to get them them set, because we knew it was a transition year, especially switching over to the family portal to make it easier for them. They need a lot more assistance in this transition year than the next couple of years. Should be a lot smoother after that.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So we started thinking about how can we get them engaged? So we start expanding on the meals. We start working on presentation, colors, different things that we can get them. So Chartwell's had a program where we got a free burr mixer and all the equipment that we would need to start making smoothies. We started doing that at the high school level. We offered them on the menu, and then we also have them a la carte. And they've been buying them a la carte, and they've been doing fairly well. But it's just something else that we can expand on. And then once we get it good enough, we can start sending them over to the middle school. If down the road we see a big enough increase there, we could get them their own mixer and start getting them the equipment that they need. But it's just something simple, something that works with what we can actually provide to the kids, and something flavorful that we can get creative with too. Top right there, you've got chicken lo mein. That was one of the first ones that we tried, and at first it came out like a brown pile of mush on a beige little platter, and then I was like, all right, put the carrots in afterwards, slow down on the cabbage, put a little bit of green onion on, and we started getting the color pop, and next thing you know, the kids actually tried it, and then the time after that, it went really well, and then you see kids coming back for seconds. And then the bottom right-hand corner, so I talked about it last year, I really wanted to do it, but for the high school, opening up a coffee shop. So that is something we've got, we're gonna open up a portion of the wall in what they call the tiki hut and make it more forward-facing instead of a side service window. There's a display case that is gonna showcase the items that we have, and it's gonna basically, it'll have a la cartes, it'll have coffee, just little odds and ends, and part of it is to expand and give more options to the kids. But honestly, what I really want to do is what we were doing at the middle school. We moved the a la cartes off the line. We moved it to a side station, which then freed up the line for the kids that want a meal to get through quicker, to go, sit down, have more time with their meal, and then if they decided they're hungry, they could come back and get more. In the same sense, the kids that wanted a la carte, they could go off to the side. They could go through the lines quicker. So if they brought a sandwich from home, but they wanted a bag of chips, they wouldn't have to wait through the entire line to get all the way through just to get one bag of chips. They could go over to the a la carte station and just get that one little item. So with that, spreading it out actually makes it easier on the lines and helps the kids get through quicker, getting more time. Because honestly, when I go through the Facebook page and the parents, they talk about how little time their kids have to eat. So our big focus, especially at the middle school when they first started off, because the first period is all sixth grade, I want them to get through as fast as possible. So we honed in on what can we do to make that go faster, and it has. It's done actually pretty well. So, go right ahead. So all these pictures that I'm showing you guys are all things that we make, all meals that, well, I've eaten, because I go and grab something and I'm like, ooh, okay, I want to take a picture of that. So I put a focus on presentation, quality, and yeah, there's a lot of restrictions, and like I said, when it comes down to it, it makes it difficult, because what is healthy is not necessarily as tasty as other things, but that doesn't mean it still can't be good. So we have, they call them dumplings, I've always called them pot stickers. That was something that we just added on, because once we did the lo mein and that did well, we started adding on to the Asian options that we had, because it seemed to do fairly well. We have Swedish meatballs, parfaits are hands down my favorite. You can ask my secretary. Our pizza's always done really well. And then we started expanding on our fruit options, just trying to figure out what kids like, cutting up fresh melon for them, mixing berries instead of just putting out strawberries, putting in some blueberries to add color to it. Go ahead. And then trying to give them a say in what they want. So if you go onto Nutrislice, there's always a rating for everything that's on there. But we're also starting up, just like last year, we're getting together names for student advisory board between the high school and middle school, so they can sit in, they can talk about the things that they like, what they'd like to see. And honestly, I want it to be passing back and forth of information. I want to let them know the struggles that we had with distribution, substitutions, sometimes what we have to do, when it comes closer to holidays, where we might have to substitute out a menu, because I'd rather not buy full cases of something that's just going to sit there through an entire Christmas break. So I'd rather use the things that we have on hand, make a little modification, and still serve everybody. But The bottom left-hand corner there, that was, one of my cooks said that to me. It's a picture of the middle school. When we shifted everything over, that is the a la carte station. That was one day where they, over and over and over, they'd ask us to get ice cream. That was the first day, and they lined up for it. So everybody was really happy with that. And again, my goal is not to give them snacks, but in the same sense, they're going to get snacks, so I might as well get them the things that they want. So when they go home to their parents, they're also saying, I like what they have. And the kids that come through the line have the chance to get their meal a little bit faster because they don't have to wait for the kids that are coming through and picking snacks out. They can get their meals, go through quicker, come back, get a second a la carte entree or something to that extent. But it just smooths out the whole process with it. Then, any questions for me?
Any questions for Tony?
Just to clarify again, all the
Yeah.
pictures there were from our building?
Yeah.
Right?
Everyone.
And you said, right now, are you getting like current feedback from students and staff? Like, did you say, can they rate their meals on there?
On NutriSlice, there's a rating system. So basically, when you go to the food service page, which I worked on revamping that and making it a little more accessible for parents, up at the very top hand corner, basically you click on it, it takes you to NutriSlice, which links up with our online menu. So at any one of the schools, you can see what's served that day and then what's going to be served the month in advance if you go forward. And then each one of those items, you can click on it. It gives you all the dietary information on it, all the allergens, and then you can rate that based on what you think as well. But in the same sense, we want to start working with the kids. Like tomorrow, I'm actually I'm going to be working in the high school, giving out some smoothie samples and having kids just do a quick survey on what they think about the smoothies so far, whether or not they feel that they've liked the flavors and just the presentation of them, just to try to hone in and figure out whether or not we're doing the right thing or if they'd like to see something else with it.
And you said that, I started to write that down, and I can, if you don't mind me asking, are you doing the sampling already, or is tomorrow the first time that you're doing
we've done
sampling?
No.
Are you getting good feedback from the kids? I
Hmm?
guess they're willing to give it, or do they go, it's fine?
Honestly, the smoothies, we started off sampling that. I want them to take the surveys, so I'm bribing them essentially with samples. But the first part, I gave them samples because I wanted them to try it out before we just put it in a showcase. Because, it's like when you go with shopping, you're gonna go with food or things that pop out. But if it's smoothie, not that extravagant. It's just a blended mixture in a cup. So they need to taste it, or they need to at least hear from somebody that tastes it. So the only way that we can really get that out there is by giving out samples. So we did that in the first place, and it's done okay on the menu, but ultimately, when we put them in the a la carte, section with the juices and waters and things like that, they did really well. A lot better than I thought right off the bat than what they would do. So I was extremely happy with the progress with those.
And if you don't mind, I have two more. The CEP, that was the elementaries and the VLC
Yep,
too, wasn't it?
VLC
How's
too.
it going with the VLC?
VLC was happy because they were at the end of last year. They were saying they have talked about there's a lot of kids that have need in that school in general, and so they were what can we do? So I looked at it, and it benefited to put them in part of that. So they're happy with the free meals. I've gone down there and talked with them a few times. Just it seems like everybody is pretty happy with it. I mean, just the fact that it didn't have to go back to paid meals there, because it creates its own problems, because then how do we get those meals to the kids there? They would have to either come down, or we'd have to set up a system for them to register it there. How do we charge the individual kids? It's something, if we got away from CEP in that school, we would have to deal with, but it's a lot smoother for them. It's a lot easier because it doesn't change necessarily the process that they have been doing, not to mention that the kids are eating more because they don't have to pay for it.
And lastly, thank you for being responsive and doing all of this.
Yeah.
Helping the kids, cut down on their wait times and the presentation and listening. So thanks a lot for all the progress you're making.
Well, I mean, it makes everybody's jobs easier. The staff, when we can spread it out, if you only have one good option, then that's going to get overloaded, and then they feel like it's a difficult day. If you spread it out and you have a bunch of good options, or at least different areas, it doesn't seem so chaotic in that one little section. So my cooks are a little more relaxed now, just because it's a little more spread out. But yeah, it helps out with the kids, because that's, like I said, I started reading through just random things, through the parents page on Swartz Creek, and they had mentioned wait times. Well, it's at the beginning of the year, that's one thing, especially when you have a new class coming into a school, because they have to get used to the process. Like the sixth graders coming in, that was one of the biggest sections of lunch. They had the first one, and then everything was backed up behind that, because we had all these new kids that were learning the process. That was their first time in the school. They had to learn how to go through lunch. They had to learn how to make their choice. And then now, it's a lot more streamlined. We had to make some adjustments. They had to make some adjustments, but it's nothing we haven't dealt with before, and nothing we won't have to deal with again. So just nature of the beast.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thanks, Jessica. So I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you've been able to help 2 students at the high school get access to food.
Yes.
And so is there a well-known process for staff, if they were to notice students that are struggling, that they could then bring that information to you?
There's only a limited amount that we can do of the ones that, like, where we fill out free and reduced applications for the children. If you do, like, really, like, maybe 2, 3, if you do more than that, then it can come under question, just because then we could just divvy it out. I mean, you get free meals, and you, but I encourage everybody to reach out to us, because just because we can't get them free meals doesn't mean we can't assist.
Get them something else.
But the main thing is, like, I've been trying to direct everything back to my office. The cooks, I want them somewhat informed, but in the same sense, I want them facing the kids, dealing with the kids on a daily basis. When questions like that come across, talk to the parents, but direct them to me, because I can help them, and that's what I'm here for. Like, I'm here to take that burden off their shoulders, so all they have to worry about is just feeding the kids. So, yeah, my biggest thing is I just want them to reach out to us, because if there's something going on, if there's any way that we can help, if they're having trouble with the application, which we've had quite a few that have had troubles, we walk them through it. I've had parents come in, and I do it with them just so they get it right. But the biggest thing is contact us. Even if good, bad, ugly, it doesn't matter. Just reach out to us, because I would rather know what is out there than not, because I can't help if I don't know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So secondly, last year we had some very well-attended student roundtables where board members met with high school students. It was very eye-opening. And you can imagine we had a lot of conversations about food. And at that point, much of it was supply chain related, but also the wait times, which it looks like you've addressed that. And supply chain, is that evening out pretty well compared to what we were a year ago?
For the most part.
Okay.
There's still substitutions. My understanding is like 3-4 years ago, the majority of the orders were just fulfilled, and there was no issue like that. Now, it went from like 13 to 14 items on one school's order to like 4. So that's attainable. That doesn't take any major modifications, because some of that, like, we can just ship around between schools, or we can make a simple modification, or I can just run to the store if something like that comes about. But it's nothing like it was last year. And not to mention the volume, because in every single school, we had a lot of participation because it was all free. So that makes it even more difficult when everybody's eating and we're running out of stuff because we can't get it. It just makes for a very difficult and stressful situation. Now it's a lot more relaxed. We're more often than not going to have the meals that we say we're going to have, because that's what's on the menu, and we don't have as many troubles getting those items.
Thank you. Lastly, something we all face each time we go to the grocery store, the higher prices for food. And I don't want to assume that the prices or the amount of money that we get has remained pretty static. Is that correct? Or has it been adjusted at all for the increases in the food prices?
There's been increases, but in the same sense, we've also refined what we were doing.
Okay.
So like last year, we went with a different produce company, and we still have access to them, but they had more pre-portioned self-serve items that made it easier for the cooks. They were actually like pretty well loved by the kids, but it came at a cost. but we also had that funding. And with food service, you have to spend the money that you have on hand. So we were like, okay, well, we're going to turn that around. We're going to put it into things that we can make fun. So we had stopped using that company, but we started just manually cutting those fruits. Like the melons. Before, we got like little pre-packaged melons that made it really easy. They put it out there, kids grab individual ones. People felt better because of, COVID restrictions. Now, we can pre-cut those things. We have them in every station. It just makes it a lot easier. And again, because we have a little bit less participation and we've also spread out our stations and worked on each individual one, we don't get overloaded with just one station, except for pizza. That's always going to be pizza.
Okay, and I did say that was my last, but I do want to acknowledge the staff. Thank you so much for being here tonight, and your other staff for all that they do every day. And I know you've been through incredible challenges over the last couple of years, but also keeping our children fed during the summer is incredible and something that I think is near and dear to all of our hearts. So thank you, and thanks, Tony, for all that you do.
My pleasure.
Thank you. All right?
Thank you.
All right.
Before we move on, I just also want to thank Tony and Susie and also Travis and the building principals. We've been making that push to get those free and reduced applications in, and it impacts not only the kids getting a free meal, but then that impacts all of our at-risk activities and funding. And I just first noticed that with a simple small grant, we get an early literacy grant every year that I used to fill out, Jim filled out this year, and it's usually a $40,000 to $45,000, and it was $58,000. And I'm like, what changed? Well, because we're up to, I think, almost 52.5% free and reduced. So when you think about Title I, Title II, Title III, Title IV, 31A, and all of that funding, you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars because of that 10% increase. That then goes back to at-risk activities on top of food services. So kudos for getting in all those applications. It makes a big impact in multiple ways on our kids.
Nice public service announcement and commercial for families looking at that as an option. Thank you very much. All right, next on our agenda, we have the second reading of July 2022 policy updates.
So this is a very thick pack. You've had it for a month. I hope you've had a chance to look at it. I don't think that we want to go through all 50 policy updates in a row, or we'll be here till 10 o'clock. So I think I'll tackle the three questions that Jack gave, and then you can see the recommendation of the 50-some options. I think 30 had specific yeses or nos or ones or twos. And so that is laid out, every single policy number, what subsection it is, and this is just what the subcommittee recommended. Obviously, as we discussed, and you want to change something, before you vote on it, we would make that change as part of the motion. The two that were brought up at policy that had to do with age appropriate, we talked to Mrs. Dexter, and age appropriate is actually the exact phrasing in the law. So that is why that's the way it is in the policy, and it was also written that way in the old policy, again, because it was paraphrasing the law. So recommend you leave it in there since that's the way the law states it. And then the one about 4301 and how far do you want that probationary period, or even do you want to, because I think on that option you could say yes or no, or if you said yes, how long? It doesn't matter. You can take it or you can leave it. The fact is that this actually impacts our support staff, and the ASME contract has a 90-day probationary period. And so if you noticed in that language, it said, if there's no contract. Well, there is a contract. So 90 days is it for at least 4 years. So if you put it in up to 100, that's fine. It's going to be 90 days because that's what the contract calls for. And if you delete it entirely, that's fine. It's going to be 90 days because it's already in the contract. So it doesn't really matter what you do with that particular one. And then the rest of the 30 or so recommendations are on the sheet there. So I don't know, Carrie, do you want to just kind of like open it up to questions? Or?
Yes, I think that would be perfect. As Rod said, there's a lot here, and hopefully everybody's had a chance to go through it. We've had these for a month or so or more. Are there any questions, anything that anybody wants to bring up Anything that you have questions about before you were to make your decision? I'm not hearing any. Good job, Jack.
Thank you, thank you. I will take all of the credit.
You may.
In fact, no, I guess I would say thank you to everyone that has helped do this. This has been quite a process getting caught up, and it's taken a lot of time. It's taken months now. But now that we actually are caught up and we're expecting another update packet, that's great. But this one in specific, I appreciate Chuck showing up more, and appreciate just everyone who came to policy committee and helped bang these out. If there's no comments, I'll make a recommendation now.
I'm sorry, I'm missing one of these.
You're missing some?
No, the options were as chair selection. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that sheet. Just making sure.
Double-sided, by the way.
You're fine.
Okay, all right. And Jack, we do have a motion in the next, actually the first board action, so I'll let you take that one.
Okay.
All right, if there are no questions, comments, concerns, let's move on to our board action items, beginning with the approval of the July 2022 Troon policy updates. I entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Jack?
Support.
Brian, any comments or questions? Hearing none, be it resolved that the Swartz Creek Community Schools Board of Education approves, I do believe that's supposed to be July 2022 Troon policy updates as presented. Sue, could you do roll call, please?
Brian Sapanic,
Yes.
Carrie Germain,
Yes.
Alyssa Bouchard,
Yes.
Jessica LaNeve,
Yes.
John Sayer.
Yes.
5 yes.
5 yeses, motion passes. Thanks, and thanks again, Jack. I know this is a yeoman's job, and we have more to come. Appreciate your leadership there. All right, next we have the approval of the emergency operations plan.
So in your packet, you have the full updated plan. This is the yearly renewal of our emergency operations. Mr. Claren is here. If you do have questions, he's put in a ton of work on this. We have to update it, as I said, every year. In general, we don't ask too many specific questions. This is how we handle all of our emergencies, but if you have any general questions, Mr. Claren would be happy to answer those if Jim or I cannot.
I think it's worth mentioning that this document is intended to stay within the district.
Correct.
It's very important that it not be made widely available in the community because of the information that is contained in it. It's intended for staff and, in this instance, for our board review and approval. Does anybody have any questions? I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Jack?
Support.
Brian? Any other comments or questions? Be it resolved that the Swartz Creek Community Schools Board of Education approves the emergency operations plans as presented. Sue, could you do roll call, please?
Jack Sayer,
Yes.
Carrie Germain,
Yes.
Alyssa Bouchard,
Yes.
Jessica LaNeve,
Yes.
Brian Sapanic.
Yes.
5 yes.
5 yeses, motion passes. And Kevin, thank you so much. I know
Thank you.
this is a lot to keep updated. It's great work, and it's so incredibly important. Sad that we have to have this level of detail in this day and age, but it is so incredibly important, and I'm glad that we take it so seriously. Next, we have the approval of the Swartz Creek Middle School dry cooler replacement project.
So, as you know, we have been dealing with this for over a year, and I'd like to thank Jessica and Chuck and everyone who has just really been helping us push and get some of these things with the bond completed. So in front of you is a motion to accept the replacement project from Miller Bolt. So you'll see that letter. You'll see the letter from Well Gas talking about the bid analysis, the response, the apparent low bid. And then you will see on the back side the 3 actual bids. You will notice that this is not actually the lowest bid, which normally we do go through, but this is a situation where the work was not done properly, and the low bidder was the person who didn't do the work properly the first time. That particular company was given a chance by Truon when the mistake first happened, and they refused to fix it. They were notified by our law firm. Then they bid out anyway. And then during the bid process, the investigation, when they go through, it would have been applicable to us that if the 180 that was left back, if they wanted to do it for that would be fine. But they said, no, that's a separate project. They wanted the 180 on hold and the 125. So Truon has put out a statement to me. I spent all morning on the phone with them, and then they gave a quick little synopsis, which basically is, we are not responsible to take the low bidder. We are responsible to take the lowest responsible bidder. Furthermore, if Eckhart is to say that they get that as a standalone project, plus the original project that didn't get done right, then they are not even close to being the low bidder. They would be the highest bidder by hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it is both the recommendation of Wolgast, our construction manager, Truon, our law firm, that we actually go with the bid in front of you, which is Miller Bolt, for $140,343.
Thanks, Rod. With that, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Jack?
Support.
Jessica? Any comments or questions?
I have.
Go ahead.
I'm assuming then, based on this, that our construction manager talked to Eckert and that they did not want to give the deduct. And I think it's important, I think the rest of the board may be aware, we have held that money back. And it's my understanding that Troon has said that we can use that.
So in Truon's first official communication to them, they said specifically, we have $180,000 left. We are going to move forward with someone else to complete this project. You have X amount of days by law to come forward and accept your responsibility and complete that project. They did not. And in that process, they then informed Eckert that we would then hold on to that money to use it to fix the problem that happened at the middle school. And so yes, we still have $180,000 sitting in escrow for this particular project, which will be used towards this $140,000 bid.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jessica.
Yep.
All right, if there are no other comments or questions, be it resolved that the Swartz Creek Community Schools Board of Education approves the Swartz Creek Middle School dry cooler replacement project bid recommendation to Miller Bolt, Inc., with a total bid price of $140,343 as presented. Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Carrie Germain,
Yes.
Alyssa Bouchard,
Yes.
Brian Sapanic,
Yes.
Jack Sayer,
Yes.
Jessica Lenave.
Yes.
5 yes.
Thank you. 5 yeses, motion passes. Thanks, everyone, and thanks again, Jessica and Chuck and others who've really been bulldogs in terms of keeping after this particular project and making sure that
You're very welcome.
it's done correctly.
We're not done yet.
You're not done yet. So next, we have the approval of the Swartz Creek High School overnight field trip to Lansing. I see we have Mr. Love here.
We do have Mr. Love here. I'd like to thank Mr. Love for being here. If you happen to have any questions for him, he has been doing all sorts of amazing things up at the PAC on top of his full-time job as a 4th grade teacher here in Swartz Creek. And one of those projects is the Michigan Thespian Festival, which is happening in December. And as you know, by board policy, because it's an overnight trip, we do need approval. So before you, you have the overnight field trip form. And you have all the information there, and I'm sure that Mr. Kitchen or Mr. Love can fill you in on more details.
Does anybody have any questions before I entertain a motion for approval for Mr. Love? No? All right, I entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Jessica? Anyone else or support? Alyssa? Any other comments or questions other than thank you, Mr. Love?
Thank you.
Um,
Have fun.
If there are none, Sue, I'll read the resolution. Be it resolved that the Swartz Creek Community Schools approves the high school overnight field trip to the Thespian Festival in Lansing, Michigan on December 9th through December 10th as presented. Sue, could you do roll call, please?
Jessica LaNave,
Yes.
Jack Sayer,
Yes.
Alyssa Bouchard,
Yes.
Brian Sapanic,
Yes.
Carrie Germain.
Yes,
5
5 yeses, motion passes. Thanks, Mr. Love. I hope the students find this very valuable, and I'm sure they'll have fun. Thank you. Thanks for all you do. Your fourth graders are very lucky. Okay, now we can move on to public comment. If anybody would like to address the board, please step to the podium, state your name, and try to keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. I'm waiting for Travis to raise his hand someday. Kevin? Anyone? Okay, no? All right, thanks to all of you who are here this evening. We appreciate your support. Now, comments or questions from the board?
I have one.
Sure, Jack.
I forgot earlier during my mention of all the work that went into catching us up on policy. I forgot to mention a thank you to Ms. Michelle Dexter, who's been a great resource and great person in the committee. And she has been hard at work in giving her advisory role there, and it's been great having her in policy committee, as well as a special thank you to Kevin for his insights during policy committee as well. Just the different roles that they play and the insights they've been giving have been really useful to us, and we could have done it without them, but not quite to the level and not quite to the up to snuff that we're at. So I just want to send a special thank you to both of them as well.
Thanks, Jack, and I would agree, especially when we have a question that has a legal component to it, and we have Michelle sitting there. Kevin knows all of the ins and outs and what's behind the scenes with all of his years of experience, and Michelle, with her HR hat/legal experience, can give us feedback right away. And I remember we used to have to wait meetings and meetings and meetings to get feedback from a legal standpoint, so it's really helpful, because I think it has moved us along a little faster. Yeah. So thanks, Michelle Dexter, and thanks, Kevin Claren. All right, anyone else? Comments or questions?
Thank you again, Brian. Gonna miss you.
This isn't the last board meeting.
I know.
We have one more,
So,
but thank you.
Thank you. Again, thanks, Alyssa. I know you'll be back in December, and I think Alyssa Parks will be here. Just a reminder to everybody, our next meeting is at Rod's request. We will go into open session to start the meeting, then we'll go into closed session for Rod's evaluation. He will provide us a summary of his accomplishments and his perception of how he has performed based on that information that you have. That's a required process and documentation that we have to follow as a board. So if you can look at that in advance of that next meeting, that's helpful. There's Genesee County School Board Association has their Christmas celebration or dinner up at Frankenmuth. So Jessica, go ahead. You are the queen of that.
Yes, the Genesee County Association of School Board Members is having their annual awards dinner and just holiday get-together. So board members, please come up. You can still RSVP. Let Sue know, 6 to 8, next Thursday, the 8th. And it'll be a fabulous time. And then I really highly encourage, as the county school board representative, both the GISD's event and Fenton's. If you are an incoming board member, if you are a board member who may have been on, I'm there's a good chance there are some of the other 100s that'll be really good to continue to be involved with for me. But it's a wonderful opportunity. It'll be roughly 6 hours long because I did that at an MASB conference, and I'm telling you what, to be able to do it locally and knock it out like that in one day and have the connection of other local school board members there will be an incredible benefit to anybody who does that. So that's my plug for it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just have one thing. I would agree with you. When it comes to the educational part, it's very, very necessary school board members get that education and get those credits and understand, their roles and the policies. Go through MASB. It's a wonderful asset we have available to us, so I'm gonna push for it big time. I'm gonna advocate for the MASB training.
I will say this, it was interesting to know at one point, they said Genesee County school board members had done more MASB training overall like than any other county. That was a while back, and I'm not certain where Genesee County stands right now. However, they've said there are a lot of newer school board members who come on who aren't as familiar, and it really does affect how effective a board functions in the district can, what districts can accomplish and how quickly they can do it. So it's something that's been an issue around the state, so it was really nice to see that Fenton was willing to do something to help all the districts in the area not have to travel so far and/or pay a higher rate because you only have a few members. They're doing it with 15.
Well, I won't be here, so I hope you continue to advocate.
Yeah. You're not going to come back to give public comments?
No, I
I'm just
might.
kidding. Okay, I'll really let us get out of here.
And Sue, I know we have an orientation next Tuesday on the 7th with our new school board members, our incoming school board members. Is that information in their packets too?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Absolutely, yep.
Great, so that'll be a great opportunity.
Yes. And MASB has a CBA weekend where they're doing live online classes, and it's at 101 to, I don't know, 300. There's so many in there, if you're interested.
That's the 8th through the 10th of December.
That's correct. Yeah.
Thank you. And for anyone in our audience who might be interested in that. Andrea? Okay, anything else? I do want to thank Tony. I know he's already left, but I do want to thank Tony for all that he does to lead the food service area. And for everybody that was here tonight, the Madrigals, Mr. Luke, that was very entertaining. Tanner, thanks for all you do. I don't know if you'll be at our next meeting or not because of the nature of it. You're welcome to be here, but you won't have a report because we'll go right into closed session. If not, I wish you happy holidays. Thank you for all you've done this year, and we look forward to working with you until you graduate, which will be right around the corner. Thanks to my fellow board members. Thanks again to Alyssa Parks, Alyssa Bouchard for their service. We'll be able to give them hugs afterwards. And Brian, I think you are only second to John Knickerbocker in terms of your length of service to the school board. By maybe 1 year, and that's very impressive. That doesn't happen, and that's a long, long-term commitment that you've made to this community. And
Well, you don't realize that when you start out.
I know.
Careful what you wish for.
That's right. It is a long time. It is. Oh, that's what everybody says.
Literally, as long as I've been alive, Brian, just to reiterate that.
But we do, from the bottom of our heart, appreciate it. And I'm wondering if just quickly after the meeting, we can get a picture with Brian with his award and Alyssa with her certificate. And like I said, we'll Photoshop Alyssa Parks in. So if there are no other questions, any comments, thanks everybody. Thanks everybody who was here tonight. Travis, as always, thank you. Rod, thank you so much for weathering this little storm of yours. Jim and Kevin, thanks for all you do in all central office. This is, I think, apropos because of Thanksgiving season, but we mean it year-round. You guys are amazing. We couldn't do anything that we do here at the table. It would mean nothing if we didn't have all of you every single day advocating for our students and the staff and the community. So thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. And with that, I am going to ask for a motion to adjourn.
Board.
Jack, Jessica, any comments or questions? We are adjourned. Thank you.
All right, picture.